Do you approve masked ICE agents?
I do not. It doesn't look like America to me when we've got federal agents in the streets, masked with guns, with very little training, as we're coming to find out. It's dangerous. It puts the public at risk, and not a fan, not a supporter of that. The spoiler might be something to consider if we only had 5%, 10% independent. We have over 30% of the population independent. You took them all together, we'd be bigger than the Republican Party and bigger than the Democratic Party. We expect to win. We've got the numbers to show we can win.
Bienvenidos a un episodio más de Prensa Arizona Podcast. Esta tarde tenemos nada más y nada menos que al aspirante a gobernador independiente Hugh Lytle, y pues vamos a estar escuchando algunas de sus propuestas y qué es lo que está ofreciéndole a el pueblo de Arizona. Hugh, welcome to Prensa Arizona Podcast.
Thank you, Oscar. Great to be here.
Well, let's get into point. So last election here in Arizona was decided by only 17,000 votes. So really tight. What do you say to those concerned about you being a spoiler for any side? Yes.
Any side. Well, I would say not the first time I've heard it. It's heard it since I've started this campaign. What I would say is I would tell you, we expect to win. We've got the numbers to show we can win. And I would tell you the spoiler might be something to consider if we only had 5%, 10% independent. We have over 30% of the population independent. Okay, that means that we're larger. If you took all the independents together, or party not chosen, you took them all together, we'd be bigger than the Republican Party and bigger than the Democratic Party. So we have a large electorate that's been left out, and that's my job, is to organize those. There hasn't been a candidate in over 25 years, even 40 years if you look at it competitively. So the world has gotten polarized in politics. A very large lane has opened up of people who feel disenfranchised or not represented by either party, and I'm here to represent them. And the math says that we can win by literally getting, roughly 65% of the independents vote. We don't have to get everybody. We just need about 65% of them.
So how to address those independents? How are you trying to reach them?
Yeah, that's the hardest part. Independents can be anyone and anywhere. They can even be disenfranchised. They may not. There are people who are independent that are registered Democrat or registered Republican. They just say, this isn't for me. Or, I look at it a little differently. I don't try to break that down. I look at it and say, who do you want to win? I mean, just look at the candidates and say, okay, let's talk about the candidates. Let's don't worry about political affiliation for a minute. Who speaks to me? Who's talking about the issues that matter to me the most? And who do I think has the credibility to get it done? I would argue that we've got two career politicians in the race, and someone who's built businesses, created jobs, and has done complex things in a highly regulated industry in healthcare, something that's hard to maneuver around. So I believe I've got, I believe when you look at it, I attract an independent voter in a time where people are polarized in their beliefs. Many have given up. Many unheard or unseen have just said, I'm not even going to vote. I think I bring them forward as a candidate if they believe in my platform and me.
So talking about that, talking about your expertise, tell us a little bit more about what have you done on the business side.
Sure. So by way of quick background, I moved here about 30 years ago from Indiana, and I met my wife, who I've been married to for 27 years now, Barbara, and I have 3 kids. And they've all, my wife's a native Arizonan, and I have just fallen in love with the state. I have built 3 national healthcare businesses out of Arizona, so headquartered in Arizona, but, large populations of people I serve elsewhere in the country. first business, we organized and scaled. And let me back up. One other thing that's important in this is the businesses I've created are disruptive and they're innovative and haven't been done in healthcare before. So that's an important thing. Most of healthcare innovation is incremental at best. It's just one small thing after another. We transformed entire segments, the businesses I've had. First one was prevention and wellness. Prevention and wellness was not a big thing back in the early 2000s. We built the first scaled prevention and wellness platform. One of our famous products is called Silver Sneakers. It's a senior fitness program. About 13 million seniors a day get up still and work out to this program. Second one was called Univita Health, and that was a home health platform, home health, durable medical equipment, and home infusion therapy. And we were one of the largest home care providers in the state of Florida, amongst other states. And then that's where I got actually access to a large Cuban population that I was serving in Dade County that was on Medicaid. And I noticed that they had tremendous outcomes. Their healthcare was amazing. And it was because you had Cuban drivers, Cuban customer service, Cuban patients, Cuban everything, Cuban clinicians. And there was natural cultural competence there. And it gave me the idea for my third business called Equality Health, which is built in Arizona here, but that one was a kitchen table startup. I just took it from pure scratch. The others were backed by big private equity firms. This is one that I just did from scratch. And it was a passion project to serve really low-income, diverse communities who get second-tier care. And so what we did was we brought access, we brought quality of care, and we did it in a way and then ultimately lowered cost to the tune of about 7% over 5 years on the Medicaid budget. So we saved big money on the Medicaid budget, and we improved the quality of care for largely Latino and other diverse communities that participated in Medicaid. And that's allowed us to be a very successful business. Again, we're now 5 states and about 800,000 patients that we serve. So it gives you a sense for each one of these very different in their approach. But when it comes to healthcare, that's how I think about my ability to govern, is the ability to take on complex systems like that, break them down, find new ways at lower cost to be able to get better productivity.
Well, talking about healthcare, here in Arizona is not really good. So how do your expertise can help improve the state's health care system?
Sure. Well, another important thing to know about me is my father, who's only 18 years older than me, him and I built the first 2 businesses together, not Equality Health, but he built the nation's second largest health plan called Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield. He built that from a small blue plan where he acquired a bunch of other Blue Cross plans. And so it's the family business, if you will. It's something that we know well. So much of healthcare is still federal. It's hard to execute at the state level, but there are things we can do at the state level that are important. One of them is I would modernize our Medicaid program. I think we can do a lot with Medicaid, even though we're getting less from the federal government on it. I think there's still opportunities to make that more efficient and use technology to be able to achieve not only better health for the people on Medicaid, but also continue to lower those costs that we have in Arizona. I think that I would be focusing on technology. I think AI and technology has a very important role in the future of caregiving. I'd be focused on workforce development. We have not enough caregivers, not enough clinicians to support our population, particularly as they age. And then I also would be we're making good inroads on this right now. I would want to continue to enhance it, and that's telemedicine in particular for our rural communities. And we're going to have to find new ways to get efficiencies and money to support our rural health needs because they're substantial.
Okay. Obviously, we're a Hispanic media. So what is your approach to the Hispanic community, and are you concerned about this immigration breakout?
Yeah. So, you know, through my work with Equality Health, I've had the opportunity to get really close with the Latino community. I've been, in the homes. I've seen care sometimes at its best and at its worst. One of the things that I would do is first of all, it's such a great community. You have there's so much going on that's vibrant and developing, upwardly mobile. Generations that have been born here are just, taking off. And so I think a lot of it would be focusing on how do we ensure that the education of the children is on par, equal, and equitable across the state. We tend to have sometimes Latino children in poor performing schools, so we need to fix our public school system. I'm a big believer I believe in school choice only because the product is not maybe good. You have a D or F failing school, but we need to engage more appropriately. We need to engage those schools and give parents the choice until they increase the quality of that school, until it gets higher. So we got to put resources into these schools, financial, elsewise, to be able to improve. I also believe that you have an incredibly ambitious and, again, upwardly mobile set of young people starting businesses. You look at Latina females, they're leading the nation in new business growth. I'm proposing a Department of Entrepreneurship at the state where we would put resources into the community, capital access, seed capital access, to help develop this new community of Latino entrepreneurs who just need mentorship. They need know-how. They need capital, and they need support as they grow their businesses. And I would also say, Oscar, one other piece on that is there's a lot of Latino leadership in the not-for-profit sector. So I would also call in my Department of Entrepreneurship social entrepreneurs, people who lead not-for-profits, provide them the additional support, training, capital access, et cetera. Let them be part of the ecosystem. Right now, they seem to be two different worlds, which I think will also uplift the community. That's just a few things, but there's a lot more. But that's I would be a candidate that is incredibly focused on what is Arizona's future, which is Latino community.
Well, going back to my last question, I was asking you about immigration. I know it's not state. I know it's not completely a state issue, but we are a border state. So right now we're seeing this legislation taking trying to pass a lot of anti-immigrant laws. What is your stand on that?
Yeah. So I believe in a strong border, don't get me wrong, and I believe in rule of law for sure. But I also believe in humanity and how we treat people. And I would, as governor, I would want to investigate and dig into what is going on and how fair is that process, and ensure that we're appropriately helping on the immigration process to ensure that people are able to get their citizenship and have a path that isn't convoluted, like as many know it can be. I also believe, for example, recently I'm appalled by the ICE raids, and I think it's horrible that we have Latino citizens living in fear, people nervous to go, even in their community, even if they have legal papers, have to carry your papers with you, and you have to be rounded up and then ask questions later, is incredibly inappropriate. Now, I know as a governor, it's a federal thing, but one thing I would say if I were running the state is I would say, hey, you have to talk to me first. I'm the governor. I stand in front of the tank. I'll stand in front of anybody that's coming into my state, and I want to understand two things. I want to understand, one, what's the rule of engagement? What are you coming? They would, at least the federal government owes you the answer of what their rule of engagement is, as well as I want to understand, what is who are the people you're going after? Help us understand that, because from what we've seen, it looks like it's a very small rate of actual people that are on the list and are going to be deported. It's a much higher number of people that have been embarrassed, inconvenienced, and treated without the dignity or respect that they deserve. So I would be standing in front of that as best I could.
Do you approve masked ICE agents?
I do not. I understand the argument people make on the other side, but I don't think anyone. It doesn't look like America to me when we've got federal agents in the streets, masked with guns, with very little training, as we're coming to find out. It's dangerous. It puts the public at risk, and not a fan, not a supporter of that.
Okay. Last time I saw you, you were at the Capitol talking about a controversy with the name of the party, which was, if I'm not mistaken, no labels, and then now it's independent.
Yeah.
Tell us about it, please.
Yeah, so I would say as a candidate, this isn't something that I call 100% my fight, but when I was asked to run through the party, it was no labels originally. They changed the name before I got there to Arizona Independent Party. Mm-hmm. I like to say I was able to bring the Republicans and the Democrats together for the first time in Arizona already, because they came together to say, we don't want independent in the name. And I think it's pretty obvious why they don't, because they don't want people associating, there's a party I could join as an independent. It's pretty obvious to everyone. That's what the issue is, to the extent that they called an emergency session to be able to pass this, to get it built into the Constitution, because they're so concerned about our safety and election integrity when we're maybe one of the laughing stocks in the country on that. So it's really not appropriate. And I think it was a political game to create problems. There's a lawsuit on it, and it will either solve itself or we'll go back to no labels Arizona. But then, I expect that the two parties are going to do everything in their power to keep me off the ballot. That's just that they've already been trying to do that. That's just what they don't want, competition, and that's why we saw that behavior.
Okay, so do you have a time frame to make that decision if you're running as one name or another, or this lawsuit resolves?
Yeah, I don't know when the lawsuit will solve itself. That I think they have a House bill that they're going to pass, I assume, coming up here soon. Maybe the governor will get her mind around it and veto it. But if she doesn't, I would say whether it's no labels or Arizona Independent Party, it's already no labels on the DMV when you go to change your party over. So that's been really hard for us to get people, and I'm sure it was by design because the Secretary of State approved the name Arizona Independent Party. It should be on the DMV or on the motor vehicle to sign up for your political party, but when you go there, it's only no labels. So we've had to get people to sign up and get me on the ballot. They've had to go through that kind of headache to saying, okay, no, it's no labels, and then they have to turn around and go over to equal and sign up again. So it's been a tough road on that.
But no labels was approved like
years ago.
Ago.
Yeah,
so a lot before you came into the scene.
Yeah. And again, I would just go back to, it doesn't matter to me if it's no labels or if it's Arizona Independent Party. I mean, I obviously prefer it to be Arizona Independent Party. It's just really that, we have fair and equitable ballot signatures to compete, because otherwise it's 5,000 for the Republican, 5,000 for the Democrat, 45,000 for an independent
for a new party. Huh?
But no, for if I were running without a party.
Okay, gotcha.
But now that we actually have the party, whether it's no labels or Arizona Independent Party, it's 2,000-ish, about 2,000 signatures. So that's the reason. Otherwise, you can't run. It's the amount of money you'd have to spend just to get all those signatures is, and it's by design. Clearly to keep a third party out. But I think what you have to look at is you just have to say, okay, how fair is that when 30% of people don't identify with either party? I mean, that's why it's a mess. They tried to run a ballot initiative that was about really kind of just open primaries. And in that ballot initiative, that got 42% of the vote. So clearly people want their independence and want to be able to still participate, not only in the general election, but they want to be able to participate in the primary.
So, well, you already have the signatures, I guess.
Yeah, we're
Okay. So how to compete with those big parties? Obviously, you're in a financial disadvantage. How to compete with them?
Yeah. So, I've had to self-fund, most of this so far. We're starting to get donors that want to lean in. I would say no matter what, we're not going to have the money that the Republican or Democratic National Committee or parties are going to put towards these two campaigns. But I would also tell you we're going to play the game and fight differently than they're used to seeing. I think you could take a look at how, Mamdani won in New York. There's other ways to win now. It doesn't require, massive money on TV ads around get out the vote time. I mean, I think that's where the bulk of a lot of that money gets spent. And I think that, as you know, from Prince, your move to digital, people are looking at different places for their information now, and so access points are more available, and I think we've got a compelling strategy that's more lean but compelling in our approach.
So some of your proposals are out of the box, like you're advertising as out of the box. So this AI University, tell us about it.
Yeah, so, we have this programs we're calling Grade 8 for State 48. We came out with the Hugh Revolution. All movements are young people. We've got a ton of young people. If you look at independence nationally, 45%, recent Gallup poll, identify as independent. Of that, almost 60% of the youth. So young people are saying, neither party serves me anymore. So we're seeing this tremendous outpouring of that. So we're building our version of Turning Point, our version of a youth group around independence. And we'll be coming out soon with something we call the Declaration of Independence, which is going to be how we rally and build these get these young people moving. One of the proposals that I talk about in my Grade A is just, on affordability, how student debt's crushing people, right? And we've got to get out of this cycle of the expense. Unless you can afford it, the expense of college is getting to be too much. And there's a huge overhang as you start off your career. So what we're focusing on, so what AI University is, and look, as this happens, whether Hugh Lytle proposes it or not, it's the democratization of education is coming. AI is a tool that everybody now is starting to use. It's becoming much more ubiquitous. And what we've come up with is a way for $99 a semester. The university can still be profitable, but it would augment an existing university. It's not meant to replace, it's to augment an existing accredited university. So a school can go from 50,000 to 500,000 students by branding their own content and then having classrooms that are more classrooms of the future, which is what we call flipped classroom, meaning instead of going and sitting in a lecture hall and having 3 tests over a semester and listen to a lecture, you're participating in labs, you're participating in guided coursework, you're participating in seminars and different ways of learning. The classroom is flipped where you are interactive with your knowledge. You come in and you're tested, you're assessed on that knowledge, but you still have human interaction. You still have a proctor who will sit in. You still have interaction with other students should you choose you want to go down that path. So it's really just an expansion in a lot of ways of some online type programs, but much more interactive and with a knowledge base that can go much further and broader and more specialized as you would want to make it. So excited about that program. Talking to a couple universities right now that would get behind that and push it out. You're already seeing now K-12 in Silicon Valley. They just come out with an entire AI K-12 program.
Well, that sounds good, but how to make it affordable for the students?
Yeah.
Because that's what you said first. the students come out of college with a huge debt.
Yeah.
So how to make it affordable?
Yeah, $99. I mean, $99 semester is about as cheap as you can get. So, but the university still makes money at that. We've calculated the margins on that, and they still can make money on that. Now they might charge a couple hundred, 200, 300. It's not thousands, right? I mean, that's the part that I think not everybody can play, and it will help us as a society. The more everybody can be educated, the more access to education that's available, especially without having to, cost yourself your first 5 to 10 years of not being able to get a home or something with student debt, the better for all of us. So getting our arms around AI and using AI to our advantage on a go-forward basis is going to be really how Arizona grows.
There's a lot of concerns yet about this AI. Do you believe it's going to take out jobs from the people?
I do. Even though there's a price to be paid on the early front, I think that jobs just are different down the road, as we've always seen in other types of disruptive technologies. But I think that first administrative layer, and we've already seen it, my own kids, when they got out of college, there weren't as many jobs available. And if they did go for a job, it was someone who already had 3 years of experience that they're now competing with. And they're always going to go with the person with the 3 years of experience anymore. Not always, but often more than a college kid. So I do think that makes the transition harder. What we're going to see, I think, going forward, and one of the things I'm getting excited about when I talk about my own education reform is there's some new powerful thinking that's been done around our education currently is set up for a different time and a different era. We've got to prepare it for the future. And a big thing we're going to see going forward is starting back in high school and junior high, aligning kids for what their inevitable future, if it's going to be service, if it's going to be vocation, if it's going to be college pathway, gig economy, whatever you choose, there's going to be a pathway for you on curricula and then placement on the jobs. So a more direct funnel instead of what today is getting a general education and then getting out there and trying to align, unless you're an engineer or a doctor or something. And I think that's pretty exciting. And I think so that's where, AI is going to take a little bit of a little bit on the entry level or administrative jobs, but over a long haul, it's going to create a whole host of new ones.
Okay, talking about education, and you said you like the choice, and talking about these universal vouchers and the ESI, there's a big controversy about that, and it has been for years. So how to fix that? Because even though when Republicans say you have the choice, or you can choose the better school for your child, it seems like they're funding rich families for their education.
Completely. The ESAs are out of control. But it's, just to be clear again, so I believe in school choice only because we don't have the public schools at the quality we need them yet. I want to invest and fix public schools. That's job one. Job two is, if in lieu of that, you have to you have to give choice, and hopefully you create a more viable product that people go, I'm going to quit driving all across town. I'm going to go to my current school because it's got, kids are getting, it's performing better, and kids are getting placed in better colleges. So, but to the ESA point, ESAs, I think, started with the right intent, focusing on special needs, autism, things like that, military kids, but has grown into now where you've seen the recent reports on, the fraud, waste, and abuse that's going on this, even the Tom Horn's office, they don't even, first $2,000, they don't even check. Okay. So here's what I would tell you needs to happen. And I just said this recently, publicly. First thing is we need to have real-time transaction processing. We live in a world of technology and AI. There's no reason you can't go in with a health savings account and buy what you want. You have to have. There's a way to control these purchases and be able to access at the point of care these charges and either disallow them or have very quickly get back to them and say that's not allowed. Number two, we need, I believe, accountability, of course, and we need transparency. We should be able to see this. Right now, the only way we're getting this data is because investigative reporters are pulling it down. We should be able to see this is taxpayer dollars. The third thing is we should have a taxpayer oversight commission. Taxpayers should be sitting with the legislators on this and reviewing the program. And then most importantly, what you just started with, which is we should have means testing. I'm calling for nobody over 200, no family making over 250,000 a year. Upper 5% should be participating, should be phased out. They should be phased out of the program. Over 70% of them are already sending their kids to private schools before they got the money. So this is just a windfall on top of that. And I don't think that was the intent of the program. And I'm not saying people are bad because they've done that, but certainly it's a loophole that needs to be closed. And we can use that excess money for other programs. In my case, I would like to see that go for new down payment assistance for people buying starter homes.
That was my next question about housing. The affordability of housing. We have a lot of constructions here, but those are really expensive places to live or to buy, to rent or to buy. So, how to address that problem in Arizona?
Yeah, so maybe the most I went on a tour after my announcement around the state and just talked to people on the street, and maybe the most consistent thing I heard was, I can't afford a house. I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford a house for a very long time. Down payments are huge. And the home price has gone up 40% since like 2012. So that's an outrageous number to now be able to afford it. And then rents are going up too. So what we need to do is we need, first of all, to ensure that we're building affordable housing and new starter housing, which means we need to get permits done. And if you saw my grade 8, I call for what I'm calling touchdown towns, but like we'll provide incentives to cities who are willing to make this move on and speed up the zoning and permitting of low-income housing or higher density housing that allows us the ability to get more people served. And I think that is a absolute must if we're going to keep up with 100,000 people a year that move here. It's the only way we're going to do it.
About water and energy.
So, I think water, we have missed our window on this round of when we should have been negotiating. I think there's, I don't know why. I'm not privy to what took place, so I don't know. But either way, we are on the wrong end of the deal right now on water. Upper basin states are going to keep it, and you look at Trump; he's going to support those upper basin states, and Biggs is right alongside him with that, and he's hurting his own state. It's just hard to understand why they don't come out stronger against that. I understand it's a Democratic governor currently here, so maybe there's part of it. But either way, we've got to fix that. But when it comes to power, part of my vision for the state is I really want to see us become an innovation hub. I want us to be the AI hub, the innovation hub of the country. And we've got a great start. We've got TSMC with semiconductors. We've got advanced manufacturing, all the defense industry, Raytheon and Honeywell and so forth. We have data centers, which consume power, but if they take care of their own power, that's a good asset for us to have in terms of attracting these bigger companies who would want to house their data there. And then we have what I would say we should have a full focused effort in bringing in AI software businesses. Okay, so ones that aren't the really large groups, the big groups like the Anthropics or OpenAI, but the SaaS companies that plug into those models. There's a whole all those pieces taken together and then taking that and putting a supplier economy around that, people that supply those businesses. And we have the knowledge center of the future. Two key assets we have to have. One is aligning our universities that we talked about a minute ago for this new knowledge workforce. These are higher paying wages. The second is power. We have to be able to service the power of these organizations. So Arizona's got tremendous renewable platforms. We've got such a great position to be able to offer nuclear, solar, turbine, wind, solar. We've got a whole mix of those. Then we also have, on the power side, we've got some new gas pipelines coming in that are going to create even more capacity, I believe, that the power companies can absorb. So we've got a good start. We're going to need water, and we're going to have water in sufficiency to make that happen. But if there's ever an investment you want to make, it's in the power to bring the next generation of companies that's going to carry us for the next 50 years. You want to attract them here. And a big part of that is building that grid.
How to prepare for that for the next 50 years?
Yeah. You got to work on the infrastructure. You got to have the power. You got to have the water. I mean, right now there's people I know that are even saying, I'm not moving to Arizona because I'm just worried about the water. It's getting out there that we may not have enough water, which right now we do. But we've got to be able to, we need to lock in our supply, and then we need to work with the water that we have and underwater what we have, groundwater we have here, and be able to get for both urban and rural, a solid game plan that we can share with the public and people can count on so that we can continue the growth that we need.
What kind of legislation would you like to work better if you get elected as a governor?
Well, I've heard with this, from former governors that you really want to focus your energy on like one thing a year or two things a year you can really get through, because you can't get, all the ideas I have. I'd love to see them all happen, but how many can you get through? I think for me, the most important thing is the economy. The most important thing that I would focus my legislative time and energy on is, being promoter in chief, getting more companies to come to Arizona. It's more tax revenue, it's more growth. Growth is good for this state. I would put my time and energy and resources into entrepreneurial environment, develop what we have here. And then I think education is the other. Well, there's three. Is the other big one. If I left and 4 years and did not make moves that were strategic on education, then I would feel like I'd failed. And then lastly is healthcare. I think healthcare, we tend to it's gotten to be a quieter topic for the first time in I don't know how many election cycles, right on the heels of people going, oh my gosh, I have to drop coverage because I cannot afford it once the subsidies went away. So we should take care of our Arizonans, our people who either don't have insurance or are highly underinsured. We need to find ways to bring resources to them and support to them so that they don't have to fear, a catastrophic event.
So how to make that really happen? Because everyone, every candidate says, "Hey, affordability, lowering the prices," but we have seen the opposite.
I'll tell you how.
How to really get that money into the pockets of the Arizonans and make them a better living people.
You know what it is? This is the benefit of not being a career politician. Okay, so I've got a great life with or without politics. I chose to be a citizen leader to come in and fix exactly what you're talking about. And I'm a doer. That's what I've done. I've built stuff from nothing, okay? And I've done it in 4 years. In the kind of private equity world that I've lived in, you have to get 400% return on invested capital in a 4-year period. So I'm used to working in a performance environment and with a set of goals that I go get done. What I would do in this case is I would do the same thing. I would say, here, this year, we're going to focus on this. And I would spend all my energy and all my political capital, and I would personally whip the votes myself. I would be sitting in legislators' offices saying, why can't we get a yes on this? What is it that you need? Why are we not getting it? This is the way we should be working bipartisan. I would also, really push majority coalitions. I would get rid of the we continue to put these appointees in that are like friends and favors owed and all this to lead these committees. And at the end of the day, it makes no sense. I would put a subject matter expert at the lead of the committee. I would have I would break up the caucus and have us focus on these issue committees, and then be able to, with these issue committees, have public scoreboards on what we're doing. Here's where we're at. Here's who's voting yes. Here's who's voting no. And you literally be keeping score on a day-to-day basis. So that's what I would say is different when I run here, is that we're not going to just hide in secrecy and say, hey, we got something done or didn't get something done. You're going to see exactly what we're doing to get something done. And I'm going to be personally at the front of that charge.
Okay. So one of your proposals is like creating boards for every specific legislative piece, or how will that work?
Well, no. For what, let's say we took on education. Okay, like right now, education is let's pass Prop 123. Let's get some state land funding. Let's augment our whole and kick the can down the road. Let's solve an ESA program. Republicans running hard to try to get it embedded in the Constitution so that no changes can happen to the program. We shouldn't be at this 11th hour dealing with this stuff. So what I would do different in that is I would say, okay, actually starting in September, October of this year, I would need to have my budget ready. If I took office in January, February, to be able to get the budget ready to go. So I would be preparing right now, this fall. This is what the education platform is going to be. And I start trying to build bipartisan support for that.
Okay.
Immediately. And then we would take that on as the most important initiative. I'd rather get one solid thing done a year than, you see this litany of bills that run up to the Hill, they get vetoed. It's just we don't need half the bills that we're tossing up to the Hill. We need to be focused on the real problems and zoning in on that single problem. And that's what I would do, is I would focus all efforts on that.
Okay. Gotcha. You have speak strongly about this polarization on both sides, in both parties. How to fix that, because it has become a problem for the people. Arizonans, they just want to solve the problems. They don't want to see the fight in between the parties. So how to really go there and fix the polarization here in Arizona?
Yeah, it's a great point. I think when you get in politics, and that's one of the things I'm learning here, is it's just it's a fight, it's a campaign, right? So you're battling for call it the ideology and the high ground on the ideology. What I love about Arizona is that everybody loves Arizona. Okay. So Republican, Democrat, they love Arizona too. And what I think I would bring as a independent in this polarization world that would be visible is, you don't know where I'm going to vote. I might walk in and go hard left. I might go moderate left. I might go slightly left. I might go hard right. I might go moderately right. I might go slight right. So present the case. Okay, what is the case that we're trying to solve? What's the issue? No different than a CEO or a chairman does on a daily basis. I make 1,000 decisions a day that people go and act out, right? Or they bring together their evidence as to why either one should be right or wrong. And I think that's what we bring into, at least what I would bring in, is I would bring in an openness that didn't exist before. I would invite Republicans and Democrats together. There's some foundations that do this, that bring that pair Republicans with Democrats on like weekend retreats and things like that. And you'd be amazed how they find common ground by just being together. The more you're polarized, the more you're further apart, the more electric the issues become when there's point, counterpoint, the further you're not going to get anything solved. So really it's about uniting the parties, and that's what I see my role as. I'm not concerned about a third party as much as I'm concerned about the electorate's telling you something. Everybody's saying, I'm leaving the party. That means you need to come back together and start working together again. So that's the impetus. That's what the role is for me to organize enough people to say, vote him in because he's going to bring everybody back to the table again. And maybe they work me out of a job. That'd be fantastic. Okay. But that's not happening. And it's just getting worse. So that's the Oscar, that's the drive here and that's what I think I can bring is because I'm willing to look at all the issues, regardless of political ideology, I can come up with what I believe and then vote my conscience on what I think all Arizonans want across the board. Income, knowing low income, diverse, not diverse, regional, metropolitan, like all the things that right now alienate, I run them through my lens and say, is this fair for everybody? And I think that's the value.
So if you get elected, what will be the first thing you will focus on changing for the better of Arizona?
I'd probably go first with, I'd still got to put some thought into that, but I would say just off the top of my head here right now, I would probably go first with kind of two tracks. First track would be laying the foundation for the new economy. Okay. But the focus track would be on fixing healthcare because I know I could do that rather quickly. And I think it would free up money in the budget to be able to use for other programs. Those would be the kind of first focus.
Okay. Talking about going back to health and these programs from the state, like Access, like SNAP, I know is federal as well, but a lot of people depends on them, on those coupons. How to make it better, how to make it more accessible, because we have just recent information that more than 40% of SNAP recipients have dropped because of the politics.
Yeah. Again, you said hard on federal, but I think where federal fails, we need to say, okay, how are Arizonans affected? What's the total cost of that effect? So whether that's SNAP benefits for food or it's, insurance, uninsurance, which we end up feeling the cost of it right back into our safety net hospitals, and that gets passed on. So we there's no free lunch. I would have to dig in exactly what we would do. I can't talk to that today, but I would tell you that if you just take like the business I had before, 7% we saved over a 5-year period. That was just us with managing, call it 20% of access. If you were able to kind of get 100% of access on this kind of different approach and payment model, you would have the opportunity to generate a lot of money back to the state, and you'd have to work with how that money would be ratably shared. But I think it's a way to say, okay, on future cost, we might have a way to rein that in and use those dollars that we would have used otherwise for something good. I think the entire government overall, when you look at education, all of them would benefit from to use a Trump term, the Doge exercise, where we would go through an efficiency to say, where are we needlessly spending today and where would those dollars be better allocated? And I think that would be the first order of business is we're already going to, if I win and take office, from what I'm looking at the budget this year, I might well be inheriting a pretty healthy deficit. So, we're going to have to immediately try to get back to par with that, and then still find the opportunities to grow. And that's why hitting the business first is good, because that can potentially raise tax revenue.
Okay. As far as I know, you were quarterback with the Sun Devils, right?
Yeah, just for a while. Yeah, yeah.
Just for a while,
sure.
but you were there.
Yes.
So how to apply your experience in the field?
Yeah.
To govern and to get young people excited about your campaign.
Yeah, so that's a fun one. It seems like forever since I had a helmet on, but I would tell you this: it did. I say everything I learned about leadership, I learned in the huddle, and it's because it's true. I mean, you got guys that depend on you. You've got a team that depends. You got a town or a community that depends on you, and what it does is it really taught me at an early age about performance. I was in the performance business as soon as I started playing the ball. I mean, and performance requires planning. It requires strategy. And, in football, it's a natural. You got planning, you got performance, and the planning is very specific. As a quarterback, you also have to call an audible. You have to walk up and go, hey, what we planned in this moment and in this next 5 seconds, I'm going to have to change and make a good bet. And so I've been trained for that my whole career. And so that carried over into business. And then in business, it was the same concepts forward, the concepts of discipline, the concepts of teamwork. Team is huge. It's one of the things, again, I get frustrated with on this appointee thing where I think it's part of the insider problem. You have career politicians putting career appointees and the rest of us public left out. And I think you have to put people in that maybe have a whole new perspective on things, but are performers and know how to get things done. So I think, bringing the concept of that. And then, there's a whole thing too. You're only as good as your weakest person, right? So I'm also big on, how do we build up our weakest area? So who do we need to help get better for us to be successful? Those are some examples, but I think that's the thing that a quarterback just naturally thinks, this is on me. I've got the responsibility. You don't see it as a burden, see it as an opportunity. And, you go to work.
Talking about team and talking about those appointees, would you consider quality Hispanic people to be in your cabinet?
Oh, of course. I mean, and you know why I would? It doesn't have to be because they're Hispanic. It's because they are quality people who are meritoriously good at what they do, right? I mean, that's what, and they're a large part of the population, right? So it's like naturally that's going to happen. But yeah, I've met so many talented Latinos over my last 10 years running Equality Health. It's really. It's an untapped resource in this state. It's like a sleeping giant. The sleeping giant's waking up, and the sleeping giant has so much to offer, and I'm excited about that. And I think most people I know are excited about that. But yes, of course, it would certainly include Latino.
Is there any other important proposal for you that you want to address?
Important proposal? No, I mean, I think in terms of my programs, I think there's one I'm excited about. Well, two. One's a hero program where we try to recruit and find the best most talented police officers or teachers or something, and bring them there and make them let them bring their own cast of people who want to learn from them. I think there's such a great opportunity to up our game by finding, just like we did in football with the great head coaches. You need to find leaders in other parts of civic. I think that's an important one. The other one too is just I'm excited about what we can do on the charity and charitable giving side. I think that there's so much opportunity. We have a lot of wealth that is not only transferred in here from California, but also that's already been here, and philanthropy. And I'm seeing some really amazing things happening in philanthropy with AI, where giving can be more targeted, that I think will be really attractive in the future. But I really... And then, like Equality Health, we figured we had a model where we had an LLC, and around our LLC, we had a 501c3 not-for-profit. I think you're starting to see models like that in the Latino community saw one yesterday that provides services for women, health services for women, and I'm going, okay, they're thinking about this the right way, reconstructing how a 501c, how a not-for-profit works in a way that is, call it free market, is really a powerful concept. Public-private partnership is something that I think can really spur economic development in this state. So I get really excited when I think about that program and what we can do. We call it Champions for Charity, but really being able to bring more money instead of relying for every single grant you get and hanging on for that grant and then getting cut back. How about you go out and you make your own and you build your own reserve? I'm excited about that program.
Okay. Is there something else you want to add? And where can the people learn more about your candidacy?
Sure. So, do me a favor, please go out and follow me on my social media at Hugh for Governor. It's just Hugh for Governor. And then go to hughlytle.com, HUGHLYTLE.com, if you want to see my website, which will give you access also to the social media programs and the Grade 8 for State 48 that I talked about with you here today.
Is it in Spanish as well?
It is in Spanish, I believe, yes.
Yeah, of course. Well, Hugh Lytle, thanks for being here with us, and thanks for this interview.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Oscar.
Muy bien, pues muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos en este programa. Los esperamos a la próxima. Cuídense mucho. Bendiciones.